Hi, my name is Patrick Curtis, CEO and founder of Wall Street Oasis. Today we have a great chat with Pranam. Pranam is an Indian student that came to the US to pursue a master's in financial mathematics at NYU. He went to a target school in India called BITS and ended up doing a full year at JP Morgan before coming over and transitioning for his master's here in the US. But what I really like about this chat is how he realized when he stopped getting interviews in January, right after the initial wave of recruiting happened, he didn't just keep doing the same thing that he had been doing. He joined WSO Academy and unlocked the next wave of interviews for himself and was able to land an amazing role in quant research. Enjoy. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for your time, and
It'd
thank you.
be, yeah, it'd be great if you could just give the listeners kind of a short summary bio, 30 seconds high level, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Right. So I've moved for my master's from India. In India, I went to I'm a dual major, so I did my undergrad in electronics and economics.
Hmm.
I wasn't really into electronics, so I just started shifting towards the finance side of things. Back in my undergrad, we had this trading club where undergrads managed a bunch of money from alums. That's what got me into trading, and so as a result of that, I got into quant finance.
Hmm.
Right. During my undergrad, I did a bunch of internships related to that. The last one, and then I was there at JP Morgan for a year.
Yep.
Post which I switched and I came over to the US. I came to NYU, and then I joined the financial math program here at NYU Courant.
Hmm.
And then yeah, I after that I joined a WSO and eventually landed on my internship here.
Awesome. So let's kind of start back in undergrad, back in it's BITS Pilani, right? It says
Yeah, bits. We call it
Bits.
bits. Yeah.
Yeah, Bits. And so you were kind of head of trading at this Wall Street club there. Is that pretty unique to Bits? Is it something that you've heard at other universities doing something similar?
No,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah. Just yeah. So the one at bits was the first one that ever happened in India. So that was India's first undergrad grad only led investment fund. I'm not sure if other universities do it now, but yeah, it was a pretty unique experience. I think a lot of us there, it was the first time we ever took trades in the market, and yeah, that's what
Awesome.
allowed
How
us to get
much
into.
how much were you guys managing if it's that's public information?
It's all public, but yeah,
Few
few
hundred
hundred
thousand.
thousand. Yeah, yeah.
And then did you get a chance to do any kind of quant back then? Because you said you were kind of an electrical engineer slash econ, where like it was about 3 years you were a trader and then head of trading there. Did you kind of go straight into like looking at how to do any sort of quant methodologies, or was it more like long short fundamental research?
So the fund that I was leading, it was more of long shot and fundamental strategies. I didn't get into quant there. So towards the end of my sophomore year, I also interned at this commodities trading firm. It was called Futures First.
Hmm.
There, I did a bunch of alpha research on commodities. It was particularly oil futures.
Hmm.
So that was my first exposure to proper quant methodologies in trading. That's what got me
How
into.
did you even land that role? So let's say you're starting freshman year, your first year at BITS. Was it like, okay, I'm econ engineering, but you started kind of getting more interested in the finance side? How did you even get the Futures First internship to even
Right,
get
right.
that?
So in my freshman year, I was trying to become a full stack developer. I was trying to build apps, and
Okay.
but at some point, I lost interest in that. In my sophomore year, once I got interested in trading, so we have this program in my undergrad. It's called Practice School One, where the school connects you with potential companies.
Hmm.
And at that point, I had just started trading, and I realized that I would probably be interested in, interning at a firm which does some sort of trading. So I had put up futures first, like on top of my list there, and they fortunately connected me to these people, and that's how I got the internship
Oh,
there.
that's amazing. And so is this just because BITS is like a top target? It's like one of the strongest universities. Do you guys get to choose kind of where you go? Is that why?
Yeah, it's a top target school in
And
India.
how big is the class size for
So
BITS?
it's because it's an engineering school. So my batch had like 1,000 kids,
Yep.
but again, across engineering disciplines.
Yeah. Okay. And so you're kind of doing the futures first. You're there for your few months. What's that like learning curve for you? had you done any sort of thing on your own prior to kind of starting there, or was it all just like completely new to you? And was there a program there where they kind of took you under their wing and taught you it?
Right. I think the mentors were really helpful there,
Yeah.
to be honest. And also I started trading 1 year prior to that. So I had some idea about how markets worked and everything related to that. Plus, I think I was always quantitatively driven,
Yeah.
in the sense that I liked working with numbers, working with code. That was something that I liked. And all at the same time, I think the 1 year experience trading plus the mentors, they were very helpful. I think a combination of all of that
So they
made
had
sure.
mentors at Futures First to kind of help guide you and stuff.
Right.
Oh,
We
that's
have
great.
mentors there, so that really helps smooth, make the transition more smooth.
And so you kind of finish that internship and it kind of, I guess, solidifies your interest in trading and you're thinking, hey, I want to potentially go further with this. You eventually become head of trading at the Wall Street Club, right? How should we think about like your internship or your year actually at JP Morgan? Can you talk about like that was that after graduation?
So, I was because I was a dual major in my undergrad. I was technically supposed to be there for 5 years,
Yeah.
but then I crammed up all the courses and
You
completed everything.
slammed you condensed it to four?
Four, yeah. It was like I was maxing out my credits every semester, and I condensed everything into four. And then because of that, the last 1 year I was on site at JP Morgan. Though on paper I was an intern, but I think I was pretty much given analyst responsibilities there.
Yeah, and you were at Mumbai. Like, how did you even land that role? I mean, obviously the Futures First internship probably helped showing that
Right.
interest, but talk to me a little bit about when you were interviewing for the JP role and then the specific role you held there.
Yeah. So this is going to sound boring because this doesn't involve networking, and I'll come to
No,
that.
that's good. It's fine because if you're at a super target school, sometimes you don't need to like it's on campus, right? It's like or it's offered to you.
Right.
But I'm curious just to hear like what they're interviewing for there, JP specifically, and like what the role was specifically.
Right. So when they came to like my university, I think like JP, bunch of banks and a few other firms came in. They basically asked us to sort out our role priorities. I think there were IB roles, there was quant research, there was sales and trading, and like a bunch of other roles. So
Yeah.
I put quant research as my priority there.
Yeah.
Then I got called to the interview. There were like a bunch of rounds there, and then eventually I got the role there for it.
And that was your third year or your last year there?
It was the end of my fourth year.
Okay, so
And
they
my
thought
fifth.
you were going to do it. They knew you had the ability to kind of work there for the full year in your fifth year.
Right. They knew it because
They knew that.
I think they had come towards the end of my fourth year, so they had my
They
transcript. They
know.
knew that I was completing on my
They know
fourth
you
year.
were done. Okay, and then more specifically, like when you put quant research up at the top there, what were the interviews like? Was it a lot of mental math, or was it other types of kind of brain teasers, or any sort of like, was it some behavioral as well?
So JP, for some reason, they didn't ask a lot of brain teasers. They were mostly checking my ability to code.
Okay.
Uh, Also, they were checking how good I was with the finance stuff, options, Greeks, and all of that, the technicalities there.
Mhm.
Bit of statistics, econometrics. That's what the focus was on.
Very good.
And yeah, there was one behavioral round as well.
One behavioral, they're like, okay, yeah, why do you want to do this? Okay, good.
Yeah,
But they
that
just
was
want to make sure you can code well, right?
yeah.
Okay, and so you worked there, you did some stuff with equity derivatives. I'm seeing here you did some advanced Python quant frameworks. Um, Tell me a little bit about like that 1 year there, because I'm sure it was pretty important for you in terms of like your application to NYU and getting there. And when did you start thinking, hey, a master's in the US might make sense for me?
Right. So I'll be very honest. So
We
there.
like honesty. Yeah, be very honest. It's good.
Though I think everything was good there, you got to learn a bit, but this is something I realized when you're at a big bank, there's
Mhm.
only so much you can do, right? You are put into silos there. You only manage a part of the process, right?
Yeah.
Though there is like good learning to do. I felt that if I moved out and ventured into a smaller firm or like let's say into a buy side role, I thought that I'd learn more in such a scenario, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so maybe 6 or 7 months in, I knew that there were these financial engineering, financial math programs in the US, and I had my seniors who had gone there, right? There are like a few seniors that I'm close to. So one of them was also at JP Quant, and then he had moved to the US, right?
Mhm.
He went to Berkeley. So I was in touch with them, talking to them. I was like, let's apply and see. I was not very sure about it. I gave my GRE towards December, which is very late, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just gave it, quickly made my applications and sent it to like six, seven schools and like
So did you Berkeley as well, NYU, or where did you apply?
Berkeley, NYU, I think Columbia, and wait, I think Chicago. I had applied to Chicago, and then I
Anywhere
had
where there was like a quant finance kind of,
finance. Yeah, yeah,
financial
quant
engineering.
finance. Yeah, right. And then at the and then I finally decided to come to NYU because one, I knew that the industry is here. You get to network more and stuff. But at that point, I was not sure about networking. We'll come to that later. But yeah, that's how I transitioned. So my primary motive was to move to a role where I'd have more ownership of the process, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like also I feel that in like let's say quant roles in India, you are probably given like the work that the US teams don't want to do. Like I mean, it's not
You're
bad
given
work.
the back end work. You're given the,
Right.
yeah,
It's good work. I'm not complaining. It's
yeah.
again good work, but maybe it was not aligned with what I wanted to do in the long term, right? I Because I also traded. I was in an alpha research role, but I thought that I can come out and
You could
maybe
do more, yeah, to buy side, smaller firm, be given more, more
right.
responsibility. That's totally fair. And so I guess as you're applying to all these financial engineering programs or financial quant programs in the US, you'd kind of already decided, hey, I'm going to go there, see what happens. What were your friends telling you, or your seniors telling you in terms of like getting placed in the US at a firm? Were they like, hey, it's very difficult with the visa. Obviously, with OPT, you can stay for 3 years, but you still need the sponsorship, right? So talk, did they give you any kind of warning around that, or what did they say specifically?
Yeah. So they did tell me that the job market was really bad. The job market is really bad. And also there will be problems with the visa. That's something that they had told me. But all in all, I did think that coming here, maybe even if I work for 3 years, it's a good addition to my resume, right? And now you see, though I'd like to stay here in the long term, but it's an uncertain thing. And but you see that there are good buy side firms in Dubai, Singapore,
Totally.
maybe London, or even in India. That these are more visa friendly, I
Yeah.
think.
And did you
So
ever consider going to like a quant research program in the UK or Singapore or any of these other like
no,
programs?
no, after Brexit, I was hearing really bad things, and plus, I didn't really know anybody who'd taken that path, right? I didn't know
Right.
anybody personally who'd
Yeah, you're
gone to
just trying to
school.
follow the people who've had success ahead of you. So did any of your seniors kind of at JP that went to the had they placed at any sort of hedge funds or buy side asset managers or any quant
So
researcher
no,
role?
so they ended up going back to banks. They like someone's at Morgan Stanley, someone's at
In the US though, or
in the
in
US, in the
in the
US.
US? Okay, so it's still better. At least the pay is in US dollars, and I assume they're getting paid significantly more than what they were.
Yeah. And I think the work is like different.
Yeah,
Yeah, but a lot of them ended up going to banks again.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of as you're approaching your master's program, so when did you kind of first? It started in September 24. Um, when you're kind of coming over, had you heard of Wall Street Oasis? Have you heard of WSO Academy at the time, or was it
So,
because
so, so I had always, the memes, they were always coming on my feed. I think I've been following the
yeah,
Instagram page for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
so
sorry, yeah.
you're coming onto campus. Did you know what the academy was, or had you heard of it?
So I knew that like the academy, there's a lot of focus on IB and stuff.
Hmm.
I knew that I didn't know how much support there would be for quant, right? But when I spoke to the team, I saw the upside of being connected to the academy, right?
Yeah,
And I think I tell you the biggest plus that I've gotten from the academy, right?
sure.
I have zero experience in networking, right? I have no idea how to pick up, like talk to people in that sense because I never had to do it in my undergrad.
Yeah,
Think that was the biggest bonus. Here I was able to connect to people and they I understood how the industry works in a way, right?
yeah,
And so that was my primary intention when I joined the academy. I just wanted to meet people who are relevant to the industry and understand the process from them. You might also see my dashboard. I've barely completed the courses. I think I've probably used my one-on-one
yeah. You
hours.
still have access to them, so don't feel bad. But I saw you did connect with Mark, with Jeremy a few times, Alessandro, even Jean-Philippe. So you spoke with some of our quanti people and some of the people who had done in sales and trading. So I assume hopefully they were helpful preparing for the interview and
Very, very helpful. They helped me redo my resume. They helped me, prepare for interviews. I think that was really helpful. Yeah.
and then in terms of your like decision, so like you came in to NYU in September, you joined
Right.
us about in I think February. What was the kind of impetus? Was it more just, hey, I don't know what to do on the networking side? Was it more, it sounds like that was the main thing of like, hey, I really want that guidance. Um, did you place any value of having that network kind of there for you? So like those mentors, did you expect or did you know that we would have like the quant mentors there for you?
Right, right. So I'll tell you what exactly made me do it.
Yeah.
Because I think I had like an alpha research role plus JP Morgan on my profile. I
Hmm.
was constantly getting interviews till December, right?
Yeah.
But the sad part is I'd go to the last round and I was waitlisted by like a couple of firms there. I was getting waitlisted or, I'd go somewhere in the process but wouldn't get an offer. And after December, the interview started drying out, I think, because that's when the hiring cycle stops.
Yes.
So in January, I gave a sum total of zero interviews, right? Until December, every month, someone or the other was calling me for an interview,
Yeah.
and all of this was just through the application portal. I hadn't networked, but when I had a sum total of zero interviews in Jan, I realized something had to change, right? I couldn't really sit and wait it out.
And hope.
So
Yeah. You're saying most of those interviews were coming through the NYU port, like just NYU, just fed to.
not NYU, the
Oh, just
general,
applying, just
just
applying.
applying. I think it's because I had some relevant work
Yeah,
experience. So
you had a strong CV on paper. You had, JP, you had other Futures First, strong university, right? So, okay. So
right.
January there was nothing and suddenly you're like, okay, I need help. How am I going to get more interviews? And so, yeah, tell me a little bit of kind of obviously we helped your CV, I'm sure, out of the gate to be a little bit more US focused.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, like, I think so. Coming from an engineering school, I was always, into putting the technical details on the resume, right? I mentioned the models that I'd used and all of that. And then I realized the person reading the resume in the first go, probably if it's a recruiter, she doesn't, he or she, whoever the recruiter is, they don't care about the models being used, right? In fact, they might see it negatively because I don't know, they might be looking for a more generic version of the resume. I was
Yeah.
making that mistake, and in general, I think that and a bunch of stuff. I made you know, my resume was telling them that I was good with the technicals, but they probably never worked with a team or anything of that sort, right? It was making it seem like that, though that was not the case, right?
Yeah, it made it seem like you were just an engineer or just the quant only. Yeah, and not.
Exactly, exactly. And I think the mentors here helped me make a more holistic resume, right? They helped me list more skills,
And
and that
so
was
it's
yeah.
when you came in, you got the new CV. Tell me a little bit about the path. So did you start networking within like 4 or 5 weeks after you were in? Because you didn't have a lot of time, right? You're like, hey, I don't have anything in January, February starts. Did you try start networking within a month or a couple
Yeah,
weeks?
so I think the first thing I did was get my CV done.
Yep.
And then after that, I started talking to a few mentors here, tried to understand, how the process of networking goes. And
Yeah.
in general, I tried to understand about their roles and what they'd look for in a candidate who was approaching them, right?
Yeah.
Then once I got those pointers in, I optimized for that. I think all of this took like I turned it around in like 4 weeks. I think towards the end of Feb I was ready to go. I had also gotten my email template sorted. Everything must have
Yeah.
sent like 400 emails or something.
So you're emailing, cold emailing. Were you using LinkedIn at all as well with the automated?
LinkedIn for chats, cold emailing for like roles, like directly asking for an
And so,
internship. So
and so talk to me about that. Like, did it lead to a lot of phone calls or was it low? Yeah, tell me a little about like the
yeah,
volume. Did
yeah,
you get on like 10 calls,
yeah,
phone
I
calls?
must have gotten on with calls. I think on calls with at least between 40 to 50 people. I think I
Great.
was like putting it on full throttle.
Yeah. Did you feel like you got better or stronger at these calls as you went along, or how did you feel
Yeah,
about your own progression?
I think I got much better with each call.
Yeah.
Plus, I think I knew what to say because of the calls I had with the mentors here, right? If
Yeah.
I didn't have that in mind, you can talk. If you talk, there's like a good flow that the conversation needs to have, and unless you're doing that, it just derails at some point. So.
Okay. And then in terms of like looking back of your whole journey, so I know it's still early, you still haven't graduated the master's, but kind of looking back, any advice you'd give either to your younger self or other students that are in a similar situation, potentially people coming internationally to a financial engineering program or other students trying to break into quant roles? Any advice?
Yeah, I think people need to. So I'd advise this. This is what I've observed, right? Networking is very important here, and a lot of us don't realize that because we don't come from like the culture of networking.
Yeah.
So one thing is reach out to more people, and the second thing is I've noticed this in Quant, right? They recruit you on based on either a lot of pedigree or a lot of like previous work experience, right? You need to have something. So I would suggest that people, get come in with like a bit of experience so that people, when you're networking, that helps a lot. I've realized that a lot of people talk to me just because I was at JP Morgan. They're like there's some like use of it's like a good use of their
Oh, it
time. They
opens up so many
think of it that
doors
way.
for you. Yeah.
Right. So I would say for someone who's coming internationally, try to come in with like at least a year of work experience, like a year of relevant work experience, right?
Yeah.
If that's not the case, then I think in the current market, there are very few quant roles as it is,
It's
right?
very tough.
But uh, it's very tough. So if you're trying to break into this industry, which is very small as it is, right? And you're not coming with by pedigree, I mean like these people who have like Olympiad gold medals, or they've like aced their national
Yeah.
entrance exams, or like
Yeah.
math Olympiads and all of that.
Yeah, so like
So
pedigree in that way, not necessarily pedigree and but like or a year of experience like you had, it helped you kind of get
right, right,
high enough
right,
conversion so that you could do the 40 to 50 calls or that unlocked those interviews. And
right,
so you had a really high conversion to interview.
right,
That's
right, right.
that's actually higher than what I would expect. Usually it's somewhere from the 40 to 50 calls, I would expect it to be closer to like two to
Oh,
five interviews. I mean, it's really interesting because you mentioned like having that year of experience or having the pedigree of like the Math Olympiad winner or whatnot, so that like you're very impressive on paper. If you don't have those two things, really the other way to do it is just brute force with incredible volume and earlier than what you started. Like you were
right,
able
right.
to do it even starting late because of luckily that JP thing, and because you had the year of experience that allowed you to do well in the interviews. That high pressure, eight people joining. But what I would argue is if you start earlier, you can actually do a lot with networking, assuming you're practicing your interview skills alongside of it, so you're ready when it comes.
Right. And I think people in New York are really nice. If you can bring skills to the table, they're willing to give you a shot. I think that's what I've observed time and again, right?
I
If you're
love it.
willing to work on yourself and you talk to people and they see something in you, people back you here. I think that's a really good thing about New York.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Pranam, I appreciate you taking the time sharing your story. I think it was really informative. I'd never heard of the 8-on-1 interview thing in the first round, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I've heard of a lot. I've heard a lot, so that was cool to hear. Thanks for sharing all that, and yeah, stay in touch, okay?
Thank you.